Today we are going to figure out if the Osmo Action 3 is the new king of the action camera world. My goal by the end of this video is to give you all the information that you need to decide if you want to buy this or not. We're going to take it diving, we're going to take it hiking, I'm going to strap it on top of my FPV drone and fly around with it, and we're even going to jump off a cliff with it. Seriously. So I spent the last 2 weeks filming with and testing this camera out. If I was like every single other YouTuber on the planet, I would say I put it through its paces. And like any good YouTube review, I want to start off with just talking about the actual build of the camera itself. So this is DJI's third version of the Osmo. Their first version was more action camera style like this, but the Osmo Action 2 was that modular one that was kind of like magnetic, but I'm stoked to see them getting back to the classic action camera look. Something that I freaking love about this camera right off the bat is the mounting system, which is completely different from any other action camera out there. So it's actually magnetized. So instead of having like the tabs that go down like GoPro, you can mount this on whatever you want and the camera just snaps on and it's mounted perfectly. It's not going to go anywhere. They even have this case that you can squeeze the camera tediously into, clamp that, and then you can even mount it vertically. So you can switch from vertical mount like that all the way to horizontal mount super quickly. Theoretically, it's supposed to be way more durable now too. We will definitely put that through its pace. Next, let's get into the specs. This is the section of the video where I sound way smarter than I actually am. So this camera has a 1x1.7 inch sensor, 155 degree super wide field of view, and aperture of f2.8. It shoots up to 4K 120 and 1080 240. It also has a hyperlapse mode, a time-lapse mode, and of course a photo mode. Okay. Boring, techie part of the video out of the way. Let's get into the testing. The first thing that I wanted to do with this camera was, of course, fly FPV. The camera has upgraded rock steady stabilization, which is the internal in-body stabilization. And with this camera, it actually has horizon steady as well. So in camera, while you're flying, if you have that on, it'll keep your horizon perfectly level. Theoretically, at the moment, DJI does not support IMU data. So they say you won't be able to run it through gyro flow to get even better stabilization afterwards. I hope this is something they change in the future. So we took my drone out the other morning and hiked to one of my favorite spots that I like to fly and mounted it on the drone, got it all ready to go, and then took off. And then immediately I freaking crashed my drone behind a mountain. I had to hike like basically 2 miles out of the way around to go find the drone, but I did find the drone. Damn, well, the battery life is pretty damn good on this camera. Bonus, the battery life is really solid, and also it's pretty durable because it crashed and there was like pretty much no damage to the camera. But here's a video of a bit of a longer line that I took after I crashed it and got it back up in the air. DJI just released a new firmware for this camera, and here are a few key things that it does. Number one, they enhanced image quality. Then they added 4K HDR video, and then they added 10-bit color depth, which is a huge upgrade. Color grading the footage was actually super fun and definitely a huge upgrade from the Osmo 2. The battery life is greatly extended as well. The one that I got, I'm not sure if this comes with all Osmos, but the one that I got also came with this super dope battery charging case that basically just holds 3 batteries and you can just kind of clip them in, carry it with you, and this is enough battery for a ton of filming. With one battery, you can film up to 160 minutes on a single charge, and it's the world's first fast charging action camera. You can get the batteries up to about 80% in 18 minutes. If you do winter sports, it's actually incredibly cold resistant as well. The Osmo Action 3 is also the first action camera on the market which has dual touchscreens. So the back screen is a touchscreen obviously, but then this front screen as well. Where's the focus? You can also use this as a touchscreen to change settings. Honestly, I think that's really cool. It's not something that I would probably use. I don't really have a use for it. I'm sure someone would, like if you have this camera mounted somewhere where you can't see the back screen and you just want to quickly change the settings. I definitely think there's a lot of people that would use that. Another thing I really wanted to test this camera on was shooting underwater, because it actually goes down deeper than any other action camera on the market at 16 meters or about 52 feet. For comparison, GoPro only goes down to about 33 feet. The colors underwater are also supposed to be much better. Action cameras underwater tend to just make everything this weird like blue-green color and really wash out skin tones and other things that just aren't blue or green. But this camera actually did a great job of adjusting to that. Some friends of mine out here in Hawaii own a company called Deep Blue Eco Tours that actually takes you out to dive with sharks without a cage, which honestly is such an incredible experience if you're ever out here and have the chance to do it. But yeah, the other morning we went out and did a shark tour and it was freaking incredible. Sharks are actually just these like super peaceful, curious creatures that definitely aren't like giant monsters. And out on the deep blue boats, they give you a ton of interesting information about them. So here are a few of the shots that I ended up getting out on the boat. As you can see, the colors are really solid. Doesn't wash out any of the colors of the sharks or any of the people. And if you ever are on Oahu and you want to go for a shark dive, definitely hit them up. Just send them a message on Instagram or you can book on their website. It is such an incredible experience. I'll put their handle right here. Another thing I want to talk about is price. This camera comes in at $329. Compared to what a new GoPro costs, that's actually a massive $170 difference. And now we get to the final test of the video, which is jumping off a cliff with this camera. And for that, I literally just had to give my camera to my friend Joe, who's a base jumper, and he's pretty much one of the only people out here in Hawaii that base jumps, because it's definitely not a good place to base jump. But he took the camera and made this epic video. Here we go. Yeah, buddy! Oh, boost! All right, so after all of this shooting and testing, what are my final thoughts on this camera? I want to start with the things that I definitely think could use some improvement. And the first thing that this camera really struggles with is shooting in kind of lower or crappy lighting situations. For example, when I was flying FPV over these ridge lines, it was pretty cloudy and dark, and the footage just didn't come out all that well. It seems to be much better when you're shooting in normal color profile, but when you're shooting in flat, it kind of does this weird thing to the shadows where it like almost overcompensates on the shadows and makes the whole image super bright. So what I've done to kind of combat that is just set the exposure to -0.7, and that seemed to really help. In general, because they have smaller sensors, action cameras aren't that great at low light situations, and that's definitely the case with this camera. But if the lighting conditions are good, the footage looks amazing, especially with the new 10-bit color. The other thing that I wish they added with this camera was opening up the IMU data so we could stabilize the footage in post. Right now, you just have the stabilization in camera, but it would be super nice, especially for FPV, if you could take the footage, throw it through gyro flow, and get like perfect stabilization. They have that feature in their FPV air units. You can see like 8 of them over here. But yeah, it would just be nice to have the option for this camera as well. That being said, the internal stabilization is actually phenomenal, and in my opinion, I think it's probably the best internal stabilization of any action camera that I've used. And there really is a lot to love about this camera. The new mounting system is super great. The footage looks really solid when there's a lot of light, and I love that you can dive down super deep with it. And the ultra wide view is actually super sick. I'm pretty sure it's the widest looking image I've seen on any action camera, but when you're filming like action sports, for example, like when Joe was jumping, you could really see everything that was going on. And one of the biggest things, in my opinion, that is amazing about this camera is its price point. Like I said at the beginning of this video, it's $170 cheaper than the brand new GoPro. And if you're looking for NDs for this camera, the ones that I use are from Freewell. So anyways, I hope that answers a lot of your questions about this camera. If you have any more questions, don't forget to leave them in the comments and I'll do my best to get back to you. Your likes, comments, shares help me out so much when it comes to making these videos. And if you like this video, I know you're gonna really enjoy this video that I recently made. All right, that's it for this video. See you guys in the next one. Peace. Today we are going to figure out if the DJI Osmo Action 3 is the new king of the action camera world. And also if I can get the smudges off of the back of it.